All right, let's get right into it. We all think we know Batman, right? The Dark Knight. But what if that whole darkness thing is about more than just a cool suit and a deep voice? Today, we're going to tear down Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins. But we're going to do it using the incredible essay Gothic Oedipus by cultural theorist Mark Fisher. It's going to show us what our darkest heroes are really saying about the world we live in. Fisher kicks things off with this amazing line. And when he says darkness, he's not just talking about the lighting in a movie. He's talking about a mood. A stylish gloom that's settled over everything. It's this picturesque pall, this beautiful sadness that's become the backdrop to our lives. And that leads us to the big question, doesn't it? Why are all our heroes so broken, so cynical? From Batman to James Bond, they're all haunted. What happened to the straightforward good guys? Well, to understand Nolan's Batman, we actually have to rewind and see where this whole dark hero trend really kicked off. So yeah, where did it all come from? You can basically trace the modern dark hero back to one place, the 1980s and the game-changing comics of Frank Miller. I'm talking about The Dark Knight Returns and Year One. Miller didn't just write a Batman story, he torched the old one and built something totally new from the ashes. Fisher calls Miller's style designer nihilism, which is just perfect. Think about it. All the campy, colorful energy of the 60s comics, gone, replaced by this silent, moody, brooding hero. It's less superhero, more angsty teenager. The world wasn't good versus evil anymore. It was just this murky swamp of moral ambivalence, all shades of gray. And here's the absolute key. This gritty style wasn't just some cool artistic choice. It was a mirror. It was reflecting a massive ideological shift that was happening in the real world during the Reagan and Thatcher years. This new, harsh idea that there's only one way for the world to be. Which brings us to the central idea of this whole analysis. It's a concept that Mark Fisher is famous for, and it's called capitalist realism. If you can get your head around this, you'll unlock everything that's going on in both Miller's and Nolan's Gotham. So, capitalist realism. It's that feeling you get, that sense in the air that says, this is just how it is. It's this deep, widespread belief that capitalism is the only game in town, and there's no point in even trying to imagine something different. Fisher had that famous line, "It's easier to imagine the end of the world than the end of capitalism." Any other idea just feels silly, right? The philosopher Alain Badiou nailed how this whole mindset works. You just lower everyone's expectations. Yeah, the system's not perfect, but hey, it's better than the alternative, right? And that is exactly Frank Miller's Batman. He's this violent vigilante, sure, but in a city that's completely rotten, he's the least worst option. See what happened? Good isn't something you aim for anymore. It's just not being as bad as the other guy. Okay, so this is the world that Christopher Nolan steps into. And according to Fisher, Batman Begins is not just another gritty reboot. Oh no. It is a direct, deliberate response to Miller's bleak universe. It's a movie that dares to ask if real, genuine good is even possible anymore. I mean, just look at the difference. Miller gives us nihilism. Nolan tries to bring back the idea of good. Miller's Batman is the best of a bad bunch. Nolan's story is a fight between different ideas of what good even is. He's not interested in shades of gray. He's interested in a real, painful search for justice. And this really gets to the core of Fisher's argument. Batman Begins totally accepts the world of capitalist realism. It never, for a second, suggests we could have a world without capitalism. But within that world, it cracks open a question that Miller's version slams shut. Can one person, through their own choices, actually bring good into a broken system? All right, let's get into the guts of the movie. Fisher argues that the real fight here isn't just Batman versus Scarecrow. It's a deep, psychological, and political war for Bruce Wayne's very soul. And it's a war fought between three competing father figures. So here's the lineup. First, you've got his actual dad, Thomas Wayne, who's basically frozen in time as this perfect moral ideal. Then you've got his mentor-turned-villain, Ra's al Ghul, who's like this terrifying father figure with a brutal, radical vision. And finally, there's Alfred, who's kind of the maternal father, the one who cares for him and tries to guide him through it all. Thomas Wayne is the ghost that haunts this whole movie. He stands for an older, kinder capitalism, the rich guy who builds public transit and hospitals out of the goodness of his heart. For Bruce, saving Gotham is all about restoring the name of the father, this idealized vision of what a good rich man is supposed to be. And then Ra's al Ghul comes along and just tries to smash that memory to pieces. He tells Bruce his dad was a fool, that his charity was weak and couldn't stop the city from rotting. Ra's al Ghul's idea of justice is cold and absolute. Gotham is a cancer, so you burn it to the ground. He's what happens when the idea of good becomes a monstrous obsession. Now here's where Fisher's analysis gets really brilliant. This personal drama, it's also an economic one. The name of the father, Wayne, isn't just a family name, it's a corporation. The reason Gotham is falling apart is because Wayne Industries has been taken over by faceless, predatory shareholders. So Bruce's psychological struggle to honor his father is literally a fight to take back the family business from a destructive financial system. This leads to a really sharp critique, one that was raised by the writer China Miéville. If the answer to a corrupt system is for one super-rich guy to take control and use fear to enforce his will, isn't that just fascism? Is this movie secretly rooting for a benevolent dictator? But Fisher argues no. The film is actually very careful here. He says it draws a clear line in the sand. Bruce Wayne's goal is what he calls philanthropic meliorism. He wants to fix the system, to make it better, to bring back that nostalgic, kinder version. The real fascist in the movie, according to Fisher, is Ra's al Ghul, with his belief in renewal through destruction. Batman wants to save Gotham, Ra's al Ghul wants to delete it. So if the movie's political solution is a little messy, just bring back the good old days of capitalism, where does its real punch come from? Fisher says it's not in the politics, it's in the film's powerful final statement about ethics. And this might be the most crucial takeaway from the whole thing. The movie does not give us a way out of capitalism, but what it does do is give us a powerful weapon to fight back against the hopelessness that capitalist realism thrives on. Its rebellion is on a personal, ethical level. The film takes aim at a very modern idea, one we hear all the time. It's that therapeutic belief that what really matters is who you are deep down inside. That as long as you have good intentions, as long as your heart's in the right place, your actions don't really define you. And then the movie just drops this line on you, delivered by Rachel Dawes. This is it. This is the ethical core of the entire film. It is a complete and total rejection of that it's what's inside that counts ideology. No, your feelings, your identity, they don't matter as much as what you actually do. That one line is the movie's final answer. It brings back this huge sense of weight and drama to being a person. It tells us that being good isn't a state of being. It's a product of hard choices and concrete actions. In a world that feels like it's stuck on a track we can't change, this movie screams that what you do still matters. And that leaves us with one final thing to chew on. In a culture that's constantly telling us there is no alternative, can a superhero movie, a giant piece of pop culture that champions the power of one single ethical choice, can that itself be a small but powerful act of rebellion?